And yes, we are live. Welcome. We are recording. So this is our ninth proper lecture. This is our 10th lecture meeting. And we are, entering the final weeks of the course. And you know that I always give you some cartoon at the beginning to try to put a funny spin on what we're going through. Now I can actually put a positive spin because William Shakespeare has been vaccinated. I don't know if you follow the news. The second person vaccinated in Great Britain was a person, a pensioner called William Shakespeare. They did it for publicity reasons, but vaccination has started. There's the light at the end of the tunnel, so maybe the final, months of summer semester could be normal. So be that as it may, we are here. We finished the verb phrase, and today we will enter deeply, but not halfway, into the noun phrase. Uh, Schedule-wise, we are on track. We didn't lose a single class, and look how far we've gone. We are here now with only couple of literally couple of two lectures after this. The most important thing, of course, is that all the materials, practice class, PDFs, links to YouTube, everything's on the site. Everything's still functioning. I update it every week. I'm not being banned from YouTube anymore, so all these things work. And last week we finished our overview of the verbal categories. We did it with modality, means of expressing future time, and of course the midterm. We said all about it. And that's probably what you shouldn't think about right now, because the schedule is out on the faculty website. On a Monday in January, I think it's a Monday, we will have our written exam and the midterm number 2 in a 3-hour time slot. So we'll be starting at 6:30 and finishing at 9:30. So yeah, late evening exams, but nonetheless, we got the time slot. It's on the faculty's website. So today we will talk about midterm number 1, because it's been switched to the online mode. There are so many of you that we think that it's not wise to organize in-person online midterms, nor do we have the capability to actually get enough people to invigilate, to proctor, to look after you, make sure you're not, heaven forbid, cheating. So we need 4 or 5 classrooms for all of you. And there are only 2 of us, and the people that we tried to ask were not so willing to come to the faculty. So online is the best way forward. And then we'll have an NP intro. So when it comes to the midterm, thank you again to everybody who voted. These are the results. So it's December the 18th with slightly over 70% of the votes when you count OK and if need be. This is democracy. People not all of us can be happy. I also was not so into December 18th, but that's the result of the vote. We have to respect it like normal people do. Look at the states, United States, what's happening when people do not accept the results of the vote. So it will be on December the 18th from 6 to 7, and people from the English studies with another foreign language, please let me know if this is in conflict with the essay writing. If the essay writing is at 8, then this is still okay. So, because this is completely new, I would like you to actually practice this, and this is what we will be doing today. So this is actually the link. It's you can scan it with your phone if you want to open it on your phones. But of course, I will now copy and paste the link into the chat functionality here. So just click on it, and then we can try to go through it together. So I think that you have all received the link. It's Flex Quiz. And now I will open it myself. I will start sharing my tab, and then we can start doing it together. I will give you some time to maybe open it. Now it's really useful if you have two screens because you can follow what I'm saying and look at your screen. But if you don't have two screens, then yeah. That's a good investment, by the way. My productivity increased significantly when I bought the second screen. But wait, you can still not see my screen. Sorry about that. So now I will be showing you my tab, and that's the tab with Flex Quiz. So this is what you should get at clicking the link. So you have to give your first name and your last name and your email address. Email address here, it says it's not obligatory. I cannot change it in the settings for some reason, although I'm paying $50 for this a month. So I wrote to the technical support. Maybe it will be obligatory for your final test, but right now I cannot make it obligatory. The reason for this is that we have to control access. So if there are results, because I have overview of everybody who took the test. If there's a last name, first name, but the email doesn't match the email that we have on record, then we will have to, disqualify that person. So it's not a big way to prevent, asking your, friends who are experts at English to maybe help you, but I'm pretty sure you won't do it, but just, to be on the safe side. So I will say here that I am Alex, Sasha, let's say, and I'm Kavgits, and I will give my faculty address here, Kavgits. So you click on register. I hope you all are at this same window that I am, the same tab. So you get to your first name, last name, email address, and you click on register. And now what you see, I hope that you all click. Please let me know if somebody's having trouble, and we can wait for maybe a couple of seconds, half a minute. But now that you click, if nobody's saying anything, I guess everything's working. So the timer starts. So as soon as you click register, you have an hour. Here, because this is a mock test, I set it up to 30 minutes. And you see the counter in the top right corner, so you can always see how much time you have. So the way I designed this version is that you get feedback after each window, after each page of the test. You will not get feedback with the correct results in the actual midterm. This is only practice, because that can create some willingness to share screenshots on social media. And that's why you will only get the feedback at the end, and not again the feedback on what was correct, what was incorrect. You will simply get the final point score. So the first task is to identify the subject, operator, and the predication in the following sentences, and then apply the negative and the question tag transformation. So you notice it's not interrogative, it's question tag, for example, here. If there is no operator, write do support, capitalized without inverted commas. Now it's really important that you write it properly. So if you need it, I suggest you simply copy it from here and paste it in the answer, because if you make a typo, since this is automatic, this will not be validated. So you will get 0 points for that answer. So if you write do support or do sport or something like that, it won't be okay. So now you have to identify the subject operator. So what you can do is you can simply copy and paste. The party is going to be a wonderful event for everybody. You select the party and you paste it here. What is the operator? Well, this one you can write is. What is the predication? Going to be wonderful event for everybody. Now, at the end of the sentence, you can select both the full stop or just the text. It took me 2 minutes to set it up for each question to allow both the full stop and the version without a full stop, but this is what you paste here. That's the predication. And then you have to do the negative transformation. This is the only part which is slightly inconvenient. I cannot, again, I wrote to technical support, I cannot change the dimensions of this box. So what I suggest you do is be very careful when you're doing this and triple check if necessary. So we did testing at home, and for example, Olga made a typo, but she didn't double check, and because of the typo it was not accepted. So double check and triple check. So you have to do the negative transformation. The party is not, and then just make sure the rest of it is okay. The party is not going to be a wonderful event for everybody. This is okay. Yes, somebody has a question maybe? I cannot...
Da, ja imam pitanje. Znači vi to nećete manuelno proveravati, nego samo program taj? Mislim, naši testovi.
Pa šta ima da se proverava u ovom slučaju?
Pa to, ako napravimo bez veze grešku, pa onda...
Šta da, ako ima?
Pa to rekao, ako napravimo bez veze grešku koja nije greška, nego typo neki...
Typo bismo vam oduzeli u pravom životu. Nema typo-a, mislim, imate napisano originalnu rečenicu. To je typos, posebno typos u auxiliary verbs. To se ne prizna, mislim, to ne sme da vam se desi. Znam da vam je brutalno, ali za transformacije gde menjate samo 2 ili 3 reči u celoj rečenici, typos...
A naravno, ali nisam mislila tako neka bitna greška, nego tipa umesto party napišemo patri ili nešto tako.
Nemojte da pišete, copy-paste. Copy-paste. A što se tiče, pa možemo randomly da proverimo da li je sve ok, jer mi imamo uvid u sve, pa možemo, evo iskreno mogu to da uradim nakon rezultata, da još verifikujem, zato što ja imam uvid u sve rezultate i vidim šta je tačno, šta je pogrešno označeno, a u ovom slučaju nema osnova. Inače, to je razlog zašto drugi kolokvijum radimo. That's the reason this is in English. This is the reason why we are doing the second midterm face-to-face, because in the second term there are so many transformations, so many different possibilities that you cannot do it like this. There's simply no way. And that's actually the problem, because if you do the testing online, then you don't have a proper opportunity to do manual checking. You only can verify the automatic responses. But if you do it, traditionally, then of course everything's manual. There's nothing in between. So for the question tag, again, you simply copy and paste the whole sentence. The party is going to be a wonderful event for everybody. and you delete the full stop, you put a comma there, and write isn't it. Don't forget to put a question mark. Now, this again may be brutal from your point of view, but you are future professors of English. If you don't know that the question mark goes at the end of a question tag, then you can lose this 1 point. Sorry about that, but that's the way it is. If you want to be professionals, the devil is in the details, or in the details. So for the next one, we get to do the same thing, but here you have do support, of course. John likes cookies, so John is the subject, operator. Now you should write, or you should copy do support. So whichever you choose, it's okay. So do support. Predication is the rest of it. So with a full stop, without a full stop, whatever you decide. I did it without a full stop. And now you can do either in all these cases. Again, it took me 5 or 6 minutes per task to prepare for different possibilities. But you can do, of course, the short forms or the long forms. So in this case, let's say that I will use the long form because I'm very traditional. So John does not like, don't forget to delete. Now this is, if you do this, that's not a typo. That's, that then you really should not get this point if you forget to get rid of S here. So John does not like, don't forget to delete S if you are copying and pasting. And question tag, you again copy the whole sentence. John likes cookies, and here it has to be again the short form. That's the question tag. Doesn't he? And if you have issues with typing and you are concerned about typos, you can install Grammarly, which does constant spell checking for you inside the browser. Or if you don't like Grammarly, there's also this thing. It's a Microsoft editor. It also does spelling, grammar, and stylistic corrections for you in multiple languages. It can work also in Serbian. If you made a typo, look, oh, it doesn't work. I don't know why, but yeah, maybe Grammarly works. And now, if you all did this the way I did, we should all have 100% correct. So let's click on save. And this is another important piece of information. So once you click save, that's it. You submitted this part of the test. There's no turning back. There's no point in crying over the spilled milk. So you click on save. And here, as you can see, I made this option active. You get instant feedback. And this is absolutely correct. So, but we still have 15 questions remaining in this mock test and only 19 minutes. So we have to rush now. So you click on the next page, and this is the part where you have to be really, in the mood and in the groove for syntactic analysis. So this is the exercise where you label sentence elements. Identify their function and structure. So when it says identify the sentence elements, so it means that first you should put those brackets where the boundaries of sentence elements are. Then you should specify the function, and then you should specify the structure. I suggest you always start with analyzing the text, of course. So the first element is John. The second element is bought. The third element is a book. And the last element is in a bookshop. Now, what are those elements? Well, John is a subject. So a subject is a syntactic function, so you write it here. What is bought? It's a verb. So you write v for the function. What is a book? It's an object, but since in this exercise we have to make the distinction between indirect and direct, you will have 5 or 6 sentences. No, actually, you will have fewer. Sorry, 5. Yeah, 5. Then you simply copy this one if you don't want to type. And you have to make a distinction with regard to adverbials that are either optional or obligatory. So you know this from your practice classes for the optional adverbial, and this one is optional. You copy and paste A in brackets, or you can type it as well. The last thing that you have to do is the structure. Structure, of course, means MP, VP, AP, adverb phrase, PP, or a clause. So John is a noun phrase. Bought is a verb phrase. A book is a noun phrase. In a bookshop is a prepositional phrase. And that's it. The number, this is very important, the number of blanks does not correspond to the number of sentence elements. You just copy and paste. So you just, those that you don't need, you just leave them empty, and they will not be graded, of course. And that also means that you should not write S here. That would be a mistake. So start from the first one that appears in the sentence. So when you look at this row, you should be able to read the whole sentence. John bought a book in a bookshop. So let's click save. Wow, we did an excellent job. We're on the roll. So far, so good. Everything's correct. So you see here, it's marked that this is also correct, but that's correct because I actually indicated that this should be empty. But this doesn't contribute to the final count, so you only get points for this. And you get the biggest number of points, by the way, for just identifying the parts of the sentence which are sentence elements. So for just typing John here, you get 2 points. For bought, 2 points. For this, 2 points. For this, 2 points. For these, you get 1 point each. So because we are switching to the online mode, we will have a different point structure, much more detailed than what we could have done in the paper version, which is actually good for you because every little thing counts. This actually plays in your favor. Of course, no matter, regardless of the fact that you may at the end have more than 250 points, if you score 100%, it will still be just 10% of your final grade. So we will do the proportion in grading. So let's move to the next page. This is about optional sentence elements, if any. If there are no optional elements, read the instructions or rewatch this video. If there are no optional elements, indicate by writing X, capitalize, no inverted commas, only in the first function text field. So we did some testing of this system before that, so it was not clear. So that's why we did this. Actually, 3 different professors from our department took this test, and they all scored more than 95%. But the 5% that they missed was actually because they were not reading the instructions. So we did testing, so we are pretty confident that it works and that now it's completely clear. So this means Mary lives in Novi Sad. There are no optional elements. So you don't write X here, 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 and here. That's not what you should do. That's what one of our colleagues did. So you only write here, and that's it. It's written here. Writing X only in the first function text field. First function. I will even change it to first function field. John visited Split last year. Here you actually have an optional element. It's an adverbial. So you can write either A like this or A like this, but you use the Sforza convention, so don't write the full form adverbial. So you write either A or optional element, but this you don't have to do this because we are already talking about optional elements. So you write A, and then you simply copy the last year here because you don't want to type. And let's check this. Wow, we're still on the roll. We are doing excellent. Then, of course, you will have 5 sentences. This is a shorter version, and you can do it quickly. This is now taking a lot of time because I'm talking a lot. Determine the category of the verb in the following sentences. For intensive or complex transitive verbs, choose the correct subtype.
Profesore,
Da?
a u prethodnoj nije prihvatio tačku kod last year.
A, stvarno, eto, ću da obratim, da, zato što kažem, treba po sat vremena treba za ceo test da se podesi to sa tačkom i bez tačke, ali okej, hvala na komentaru, to je do podešavanja, znači iza svakog pitanja ovde ima otprilike 10 minuta mog posla, znači za jedan od ovih A treba između 2 i 10 minuta da se podesi, zato očigledno sam tu već bio obnevideo, jer sam ovo radio do 2:30 ujutro. Ok, hvala. Proverit ću, napravit ću test run za vaš final midterm, da uvek prizna i tačku i bez tačke. Zato što nije samo neka opcija koja se uključi, nego mora da se napravi kao mali regular expression, ali gubimo vreme, sorry, isteći će nam vreme, možda treba da produžim test na 35. Znači, here you have to choose from the drop-down menu. You have 7 types of verbs, so on the whole, Mary considers John a very intelligent person. Here, on the whole is an optional adverbial. Mary is the subject, considers is the verb, John is a direct object, and the very intelligent person is the object complement. So you don't count optional adverbials, you only look at the obligatory elements. So this is SVOC. John disappeared, John subject, disappeared verb. This is intransitive. Intransitive is, of course, SV. So as you can see here, you don't do the analysis. As I told you, we just want the result, but the result assumes that you analyze the sentence. So there will be one very easy, but most of the sentences will be like A. So relatively, okay, but not super easy like John disappeared or it is raining. So save. Yay, it's good. Let's move to the next page. This is where you simply select from the drop-down menu. I think this is super intuitive. So you have to determine the part of speech of the underlined terms, exactly the way you do in the written exam. So who are we building this house for? This is the example of the type, what was the restaurant like? So this is a stranded preposition. So you choose the preposition here. His behavior was cowardly. Cowardly has an ly suffix, but it's not an adverb. We talked about it a lot. So there are a couple of ly words which are not adverbs. And this is one of them. It's an adjective, because you would always say he behaved in a cowardly way. You will never say he behaved cowardly. So you click on save, and that's it. We are still on the roll. Here, it's about phrases. So this is the 6th task in your midterm. you have to identify the type of the phrase, and you only get the phrase, so should have been promoted. You have here the list of phrases, of course, if you forgot, but you should know it, but we gave it here so that you can copy and paste it. Should have been promoted is VP, of course. What's the head? Well, promoted, and that's it. You will have 5 different phrases, and that usually means that you will have one of each. Maybe you will have 2 for a particular type, and one of them will not be there, but generally, 5 phrases, you just have to identify them and the heads. Then you will have 2 sentences in 6.2 where you have to identify all phrases. You put that in the phrase text, type of the phrase, you have it here, MP, VP, etc., and identify their heads. The number of blanks does not correspond to the number of phrases. So President-elect Biden, that's the first phrase. So put it here. The second phrase is outlined. What did he outline? His vision of the vaccination effort. Okay. And where did he do it? He did it in front of many reporters. If you select this space in front, it will still count. But I try to be precise. What's the first phrase? President-elect is a noun phrase. What's the head? Sorry, President-elect Biden. The head is then Biden. Outlined is a verb phrase. By the way, I'm moving through the fields with tab. So if you have a laptop, not a tablet or a cell phone, you press tab to move through the fields so that you can do this quicker. VP, well, it's the same as this whole phrase. His vision of the vaccination effort, that's again a noun phrase. What's the head? It's a vision, right? So in front of many reporters, that's actually a PP. And here, be careful, prepositions are typically short, tiny words, but sometimes they can be combinations of 2 or more words. So because of the rain, because of is a complex preposition. The same applies to in front of. So in front of is actually the head. So the prepositions are very often short, in, at, for, from, by, but some of them, like because of, in front of, due to, some of them are long. So just leave the final ones empty because, there are no further phrases. So let's check this. Oh my God, we really are on the roll. We are killing this. So far everything has been correct. Then you can click on the next page, and now you have a task to determine whether something is assertive or non-assertive. So as you know, we will use short forms. It's really difficult to make a typo here, but they are case sensitive. So minuscule a doesn't count, capital A counts. So be careful about the capitalization. This applies also to do support. You write A or NA. Roman's car has not cleared any of the track markers. We're talking about Roman Grosjean, who nearly died in a Formula One race. So this is non-assertive. What are the non-assertive items? The number of them here doesn't correspond to the actual number, nor does it mean that the sentence is non-assertive. It's just copy and paste. Because as I told you, it takes a lot of time to prepare these things. So I have to copy and paste as often as I can to speed things up. So non-assertive, you can write not, but has not will also be accepted. So I programmed it. And the other one is any. I have always loved his music. Well, that one is assertive. and you don't leave, you don't write anything there because this is an assertive sentence. So let's check this. Wow, still doing great. Then we have only a couple of exercises remaining. Determine if the underlined item is stative or dynamic. The chef is tasting the soup to check if he should add more salt. Well, since he's in the progressive aspect, we said that stative items cannot appear in the progressive aspect. So just the fact that it's progressive means it's dynamic. Ali to je on proba soup, right? It's not that it's non-volitional taste. Forrest Gump is a good person. Well, that's stative because this is a general truth. Verbs be, become, seem, they are a typical stative verbs. Let's check this. You will have 5, of course. Wow, it took some time for it to check, but yeah, it checked. Now, let's click on the next page. And we have only 2 minutes remaining, but we will be able to finish on time. You have to fill in the blank with an appropriate pro form. Or another grammatical construction like an operator that you would use to avoid repetition. Who was the gorgeous young lady with a fancy phone mask? Well, what you say, she, right? She is our new teacher, dummy. So she. Again, this was programmed to accept also minuscule she, but really you should capitalize the first letter of the sentence. The police got called due to an active shooter situation in John's house, surrounded the house and assessed the situation. So the police is always plural. So here you have to write they. Again, it will be accepted. I think a program it's that it accept minuscule t. So they with a small letter t at the beginning, but the official term is minuscule. But again, you should capitalize the first letter of the sentence. This is not texting, direct messaging. This is an official test, so you have to follow the guidelines. Safe. Now, I'm not sure. I was trying to see, yeah, because you can simply see how you did if you go back. In your situation, you will not get the results for everything you've done in order to prevent possible sharing of the results. So you will only have to click on submit, and you will have to confirm. Are you sure you want to submit? And I say, okay, I'm sure, submit. And now the moment comes. So, wow, 67 out of 67. Again, you will not have this option because of sharing, but I always have it for every single one of you. So I will take a quick look at it because some of you rightly pointed that in some cases you could maybe make a stupid copy and paste error because you're rushing it. But I will of course focus only on the ones that are incorrect. So this can be done relatively quickly. So if there are errors, I will do manual checking, but very superficially, only looking at the incorrect ones. And that will be then the grade for your, so the final grade could be higher, but what you get here is the minimum that you can get. And the cool thing about it, since I'm paying $50 for this, you can get a certificate. I will modify it for your official grammar of English midterm, but you will get something that's more beautiful than this. It will contain grammar of English, but it will list your point tally and the date. So that's it. That's the midterm. I think it's a good option for you, because also, as I mentioned earlier, every little thing counts. So when we do it in paper form, sometimes, you know, we focus on the whole thing, but here you can get small points because, you know, it's a machine and it grades everything that you tell it to grade, unlike paper tests where we cannot really, you know, give you 0.1 point for a part of the analysis of a sentence. In paper versions, it's usually all or nothing. So this actually is, I think, very good, because you can get partial results even if parts of it are not correct. So any comments, any questions? This is the let's say the mock version. Now the only problem that I have to tell you is that I will have to close this mock test. You will not be able to use this link after this class for practice, because even with $50, I am limited to about 20,000 responses. 20,000 responses is not 20,000 people. 20,000 responses is actually 20,000 options in questions. So, for example, that grammar analysis of a sentence contains something like 15 in total of gaps to be filled, those blank spaces. So if you think about it, 15 times 120 of you, it's already 1,800 for one exercise, for one sentence out of 5 similar exercises in that task, in that exercise. So we are on the very limit of this solution, and this is actually the most expensive package. So I really apologize for this, but you can watch you will be able to watch this on YouTube, and we practiced it together, and that's why this was minimized in the number of responses, because we will run out of the allocated number of responses that we can collect. So I really apologize, but that's not up to me, and I don't have like $200 to pay for the enterprise solution from a different vendor, because they also ask for for the annual subscription. So this was the best I could do. So I really once more apologize, but now I will close this, and I would actually then show you, how I see it. So when you probably still see my you still see my screen, and then when I click on game mock test, I can go to analyze, and wow, you have been really busy bees. Congrats. And then what I can do is, for example, I can try and see what went wrong here, and I can look at this, and for example, this was the issue with the full stop. This is the issue with the wrong auxiliary here. The whole predication is like cookies. So I will do it exactly as I'm doing it right now. So I will look at the ones that are marked in red, and then I can edit it, and I can actually give you a bigger score. So that's okay. So I will make sure that if there are some typos or mechanical mistakes, they will not be a big issue. They will. So as I mentioned, when you finish this, be aware that you may have a bigger score, because we will take a look at these grades and make sure that if you just made a spelling mistake, forgot I don't know, a blank space somewhere, made a typo in VP, or made a space between V and P, this will not be a big deal. Okay, so, and yeah, by the way, yeah, this is, for example, the plans. You see, we only have 20,000 responses. That's oh, I'm actually paying 55. Jeez, jeez. Yeah, but the biggest issue is that we are at the limit. That's why you cannot continue practicing. So yeah, let me stop this test because yeah. Okay, so okay, publish, close quiz. Yeah, and this link is no longer working. So if you try to visit it now, you will see that you can't see my screen, but you will get an error. You will get a notification that it is not open. Okay, so I actually thought that it would last like 30 minutes, but we spent more than 45 minutes on this mock exam. But before we start the lecture on noun phrases, this is a perfect time to maybe ask for additional clarifications if I rush through something. But since you are digital natives, I think that this, at least for your generation, unlike some colleagues of mine whom I asked for beta testing, that this should be intuitive. So,
Profesore, šta se dešava ako nekome pukne veza ikada?
to nismo uspeli da dobro istestiramo, osim što sam ja isključio svoj ruter. I u tom slučaju je on zadržao konekciju, ali je nastavio, mislim nije vam ugasio kviz, ali je tajmer nastavio da radi. U tom slučaju ono što mogu da vam savjetujem je, vi ste svi, okay, again, English, some of you are maybe not native speakers of Serbia, I keep forgetting that. So what you can do is you can set up a hotspot using your cell phone. So whenever your main internet breaks, you can hook up through your cell phone. So just in case, if you haven't done it so far, look at the options that you have in your cell phones. It depends on the version of your Android OS or Apple iOS, but it's actually a very simple procedure. So, and make sure that you do it and you set it up before the test. So if they, of course, turn it off, don't use those super expensive traffic gigabytes from your mobile operator, but make sure if this happens that you can switch to the cellular network. It happened to me a couple of times in the first semester. You were not enrolled in this at the faculty yet then, but we had online classes, and Google Meet actually also doesn't stop and tries to reconnect, and then I continued my lecture over the mobile internet from my cell phone. So that's the only thing that I can say. But if even with that it doesn't work, then let us know and we will try to figure out what to do. But I'm hopeful that this won't be an issue, because yeah, we just discussed it, and thank you for that question. That was actually a super important question. I forgot to say anything about that. So have your cell phone, tablet on the standby. Or, if your parents use this for some other, for their business activities, maybe just on Friday, ask them to have on close by ready for you one of these things. Let me show you. You should be able to see my camera now. I don't know if you can see me, but I will stop. Yeah, I'll stop my sharing. I probably stopped sharing, right? But you should see my camera. I can't see myself. That's the problem. I don't know whether you can see it, but can you see me? No?
Yes.
Yes, we can see you.
Yeah, sorry, I should shave and I should cut my hair, but it's COVID, right? I'll have to wait till March. This is a wireless Wi-Fi router that uses 4G connection. Many people have it. So when you open it, if you can see it, that's a cell phone. That's like a cell phone battery, and then you put a SIM card here. And this, if some of course, I'm not assuming that many people have this, but this can create a Wi-Fi network using only the cellular connection. So you can, Telenor, VIP, many people sell them. That's quite useful. For example, when we were able to travel, what I would do when I would visit a foreign country, I took this everywhere with me. And then when I land at the airport, arrive at the train station, I buy a visitor SIM card, which is just 10 euros. I put it in here and I turn this on, and then I constantly have Wi-Fi wherever I go. The battery runs for 12 hours. So perfect thing when we go back to normal. And now, speaking of normal, this was actually supposed to be a lecture, so we have to respect that. So I will now reshare my screen. This is no longer functioning. I mean, when I say this, I mean what you are about to see on your screens, and that's the presentation. So this link is now invalid, or you will actually get a notification that the quiz is closed. So what we are supposed to do now, and this will be quite difficult because we only have two lectures remaining, and less than half of this lecture, it's a noun phrase. So the noun phrase is the last topic of your course. Given the time constraints and the fact that we also have only only two practice classes remaining, it's very likely that we will not be able to finish everything in practice classes when it comes to practicing these things. So what we will do instead, we will do in practice classes only the exercises which are relevant for the exam, and we will give you the key to the other exercises, and I will also record myself going through these exercises so that you can watch it after you, for example, practice it, and then you can hear my clarifications. But we will do it for the exercises that we don't manage to do in these live practice classes. So I apologize about this, but this, time you only get as much as you get. I mean, you cannot stretch time, and this semester is 3 or 4 weeks shorter than a normal semester. Blame COVID. So without much further ado, the last part of your course, the noun phrase. After the verb phrase, it's the most important phrase in the sentence. It appears in most positions. It can function as a subject, object, complement, adverbial. Fundamentally, it can be anything except the verb phrase. So that's why we are doing it next. But before we dive into the details and we vivisect the noun phrase, this is the vivisection. It's a terrible thing what's hidden inside a Lego guy. We, of course, have to remind ourselves of, let's say, a possibility that you get this in the oral exam in June, hopefully face-to-face. Ne vidi se prezentacija kako? Sara?
Ja vidim prezentaciju.
So, does the majority of you see the presentation?
Ja vidim prezentaciju. Ja je vidim
Yeah.
isto.
I see it as it in the street. Yeah. Thank you. So try to maybe change the layout of your screen. If you're watching this on a cell phone or a tablet, it's slightly different. But on the desktop, you can see the list of people, and then you can see me 2 times. Me as a presenter and me as a presentation. At least that's how I see it on my side. And then you can click on me, and then you should see what I'm sharing. But in the thumbnail window, I actually see the slide. So I guess there's something wrong on your side. Great, you managed to make it work. Perfect. So before we vivisect the noun phrase for the oral exam, what is a noun phrase? This is a mantra that you should know in the middle of the night. What is a noun phrase? It's a big question, but the answer is actually extremely simple. It's like a mantra. So a noun phrase is a phrase that has a noun as its head. You can have a noun phrase that only has the head, like lions. It can be slightly bigger, like the lions, determiner, plus the head, determiner plus adjective plus head, determiner plus adjective plus head plus post-modifying clause, predeterminate, determiner, adjective, head, and post-modifying clause. So, but all of them are the same in the sense that a noun phrase is a phrase that has a noun as its head. And you can add your oral question, you know, the sentence can end there in the oral exam, but then you can make another sentence, and that's about nominal categories. So verb phrases and noun phrases, unlike adjective phrases and prepositional phrases and adverb phrases, they also express some categories. So verb phrases express the 5 verbal categories. Noun phrases express the 3 nominal categories. So fortunately, because we are in a tight spot regarding the remaining number of lectures, there are only 3 nominal categories. So there's gender, there's number, and there is the case. There is also, according to some textbooks, you may hear it, you may read it, that there are people who say that there's a 4th category called reference. But reference is actually, and that's, let's say, the dominant opinion about this among the majority of linguists. The reference applies to noun phrases, but it's a not nominal category. It's a universal category. It's a feature that that applies to noun phrases, not to nouns themselves. So you only have the reference when you create a noun phrase and you use some determiners. That's the whole point. So it's not a category of nouns, it's a category that applies to noun phrases. But before we dive into the nominal categories, we will follow the same structure that we did with the verb phrases. So what is a verb phrase? I mean, what can you do? How do you build it? In addition to head, what can be in front of it? What can be behind it? What are those parts called? And then we can move to verbal categories. So the structure of the noun phrase is relatively well presented in your workbook. You know that you always have a little bit of theory before your practical questions, practical exercises. But here, this is really neatly done. So somewhere, I forgot on what page in your workbook, there's this table. And this is exactly what we mentioned. Every noun phrase must have a head. What you should also not forget is that the head of a noun phrase is not necessarily a noun. It can be also a pronoun, but we treat pronouns as a subset of nouns. So that's why the first example is only they. And then, of course, you can have every noun can be the head of a noun phrase. What you have in front of the head is called pre-modification. These are these things that are in blue now. And there are only two types of pre-modification. Those are determiners in the first column. So sometimes it's 0, but 0 doesn't mean that it, I mean, the fact that you have a 0 determiner doesn't mean that it's meaningless. The absence of another determiner is information in itself. You know, when you tell somebody, I love you, and there's silence, this silence, on the other hand, tells a lot. So the fact that there's no determiner, for example, indicates that you have generic reference. But of course, you can have one determiner like an. You can have two determiners like the two pretty girls, or you can have even three determiners like, say, all the 5 contestants, all the 5, or the first 2, again 3 determiners. What you should also notice, and this is not emphasized in the table, but that's why we have lectures, is that the genitive case can function as 2 things. So sometimes the genitive case is a determiner. Mary's bicycle. Mary's is like when you say her. Her is also a determiner, possessive determiner. So the genitive case can act as a determiner, but not always. In the same example, you have you can see that sometimes the genitive case acts like an adjective. So Mary's pink girl's bicycle. So girl's bicycle is an adjective. It describes the bicycle, like girlish bicycle. But Mary's determines the bicycle. It belongs to Mary. It's not a description. It's a determination. And that, of course, means that in addition to determiners, you can also have adjectives. Always in this order. There are a couple of exceptions, but they are very rare. We'll discuss them in the next semester and in the next course. Right now, there are virtually no exceptions to this order. So it should be determiner, adjective, and then the head noun. Behind the head noun, this is what we call post-modification. Post-modification is typically a clause which you have at the lower part of the table. So a relative clause, which can be a finite. So let's say the 2 pretty girls who are wearing blue jeans, or non-finite. Both those ambitious girls looking for a job. However, very commonly, you can also have a prepositional phrase behind the head noun. For example, the 2 pretty girls in the corner. And the least common possibility is the one which is listed here as the first option, but that's actually the least possible. I mean, it's possible, but it's the least common one. And that's an adjective. So Secretary General, Surgeon General, Court Martial, stars visible, rivers navigable, people present, people absent. Sometimes you can have an adjective behind the noun, but that's very rare. That's very rare. This is a remnant of the times gone by from the Middle English and Old English period when this was possible. And that's, as I mentioned, these are the possibilities. So for some reason, my animations got stuck. Yeah, so these are the possibilities for pre-modification and post-modification. But despite the fact that this table is very neatly done, it is not 100% accurate. Because on top of all these possibilities, so 2 types of things in pre-modification, 3 types of things in post-modification, there are more possibilities. And I will now show you additional structures, internal structures of a noun phrase. Sometimes, but very rarely, you can have something even in front of a determiner. So, for example, when you say even her early students of assertive psychology now call her a fake. So this is what's written on your screens in the purple letters, the word even. That word, by the way, when you look at its parts of speech, it's not a determiner, it's an adverb. And this is called a restrictor. There are a couple of adverbs, very few of them, like a dozen of them, who can be who can function as restrictors, and you know them. They're very common. They are especially, even, just. For example, when you say especially John, especially everybody likes Mary, especially John. Especially is, it's not a determiner, it's this restrictor. It's an adverb. Sometimes, on the other hand, a noun phrase can have something between the adjective and the head noun. That's not mentioned in that table. For example, when you say this new kitchen cabinet is expensive. And this thing in purple, the kitchen cabinet, so kitchen in front of cabinet, that's not an adjective, it's another noun. So in English, there is really no limit on the number of pre-modifying nouns that you can have. These are nouns, but they are not head nouns, they are pre-modifying nouns. So I worked for a translation company that was doing translations of user interface strings for IT companies, software companies. And for example, this was something that we had to translate: failover redundancy server cluster. So it's a cluster of servers that provide redundancy, so that they redundancy, like, plan B. And failover means that they run in parallel with your main cluster of servers, but they take over if your main cluster breaks down. So that's like, for example, if you had a computer, that would be like having two power supplies. So that if one power supply fails, the other supplies still makes your computer work. Or even worse, this is from legal documents, fulfillment line status rule set assignments. I really have no idea what it means, but I saw it in a document and I copied it. There are 5 nouns in front of the head noun. Those of you who speak German or who are learning German know this. In German, this is a common thing. There's this funny YouTube video about Donau-Schiff Kapitan. You can create a noun that contains maybe 17 nouns. The only difference between German and English is actually that in English, we write this as separate words. In German, we write it as a single noun, but German and English, because they are Germanic languages, they share this in common. This is their common feature. So you can have, just like in German, in English, you can have this string of pre-modifying nouns, and we use them all the time. I don't know, laptop stand. You don't think about it, but laptop is not an adjective. It's a noun which modifies the stand, laptop stand. Web camera, what I was using a couple of minutes ago, which I turned on. Web is a noun, plus camera, the head noun. So this computer mouse, we use it all the time. So that's actually the real structure of a noun phrase. You can have restrictors in front of a determiner, then you have a determiner, adjective, then you can have pre-modifying nouns, then a head noun, and then behind the head noun you can have adjective, prepositional phrase, or a clause. And again, before we go into the details of what you can use the noun phrase for, in terms of, in terms of those verbal categories, we have to see how you can actually use the noun phrase in a sentence. So what are the functions of a noun phrase in a sentence? So unfortunately, my tablet stopped working. Something's wrong in my horoscope, I guess. Maybe the next year will be good, but 2 laptops broke for me over the last 3 weeks. So I will have to use the mouse. Or actually, this thing that laptops have, trackpad. So last night is the first noun phrase. Then you have this midnight, which is actually a noun phrase as well. The underground artist is actually yet another noun phrase. Spray painted, okay, spray is a noun, but here it modifies the verb, so we will not treat it as a noun phrase. But we can have, for example, the gallery entrance door. We have the color that they thought would look fab. Sorry, that's wrong. That's actually one large noun phrase. The color they thought would look fab in the morning. That's the last noun phrase. So let's try to analyze these functions here. So what would be the function of last night? Anybody? It's a noun phrase. The head is night, right?
Adverbial.
It's an adverbial. So sorry about my mouse or trackpad writing. What happened? Okay. It's okay now. So it's an optional adverbial. Great. Let's skip midnight right now. What's the function of the underground artist? It's another noun phrase. Huh?
Subject.
Subject, yes. What's this thing? Excellent. What's this thing? The gallery entrance door.
Object.
Direct object. You're good. You're ready for the midterm. I'm so happy. I'm not happy with my computer, but and what about this big noun phrase? The color they thought would look fab in the morning. It's, I mean,
compliment.
sorry, you were breaking up.
Maybe it can be object complement.
Yes, but maybe it really is an object complement. This is like saying they spray painted a gallery entrance door blue. So it's a huge noun phrase, but the head is actually just the color. Everything behind color is simply the post modification. It's one big clause, and I don't know why when I circle something then it disappears. So these are the heads, right? And there's one which I skipped, and this one is really interesting. And if you think about it, there's another one which I didn't even label, and that's the morning, right? So this is the part where I told you that after the basic concepts in grammar, we will start looking deeper below the surface. This was just surface analysis. So this midnight is a noun phrase that creates, together with the preposition around, a prepositional phrase. So this noun phrase is called, its function is called complement of the preposition. So what's the difference between, I will write it as a C-O-P. Complement, of course, means something that completes something, ne complement in Serbian. Complement is something that makes something complete in English. So it's something that makes a whole, like yin and yang, they complete each other, they are complements. So complement of the preposition means this is the thing that you need to add to a preposition so that you get a prepositional phrase. The same applies to this one it's a complement of the preposition in, right? So that's the new one. What's the difference between adverbial, subject, object, complement? Well, the difference is that functions, so far the functions that we encountered are functions of sentence elements, but noun phrases are not necessarily sentence elements. The verb phrase is always a verb as a sentence element, but noun phrases can be sentence elements, but they can be something inside other sentence elements. So around midnight, you would say it's a PP, right? The prepositional phrase. It functions as an adverbial. So this prepositional phrase is a sentence element, right? But this prepositional phrase contains a noun phrase. And this noun phrase is part of this adverbial. So that's dependent function. So subjects, objects, complements, adverbials, we call them independent functions. They are sentence elements. Dependent function is something inside a sentence element, but not the sentence element itself. And that's actually how you can divide the functions of a noun phrase. So MP functions can be independent when they are sentence element, or dependent when they are parts of other phrases. What you saw in this single sentence is that independent noun phrases can be subjects, objects, complements, and adverbials. So everything except the verb. So you know that you have svodca, so there are 5 sentence elements: subject, verb, object, complement, adverbial. Noun phrase can act as 4 of them. When they are dependent, when they are not a sentence element, they are complements of the preposition. They make it possible to build a prepositional phrase. That's what it really means. So subject, I have several other examples in addition to the sentence which I showed you with underground artists. So for example, my dog is stupid. My dog died, but when he was alive, he was really stupid. I loved him, but he was stupid. Love should recognize the truth. Object, both indirect and direct. So John bought a stupid dog, or indirect, I gave my friend a stupid dog. It can be a complement, but not, of course, now complement of a noun phrase, but a sentence element complement, either subject or object. And that's why, by the way, why we call complements complements. They complement the meaning of the subject. They add additional info on the subject or the object. So Wolfie, that was the name of my dog, is a stupid dog, or I consider Wolfie a stupid dog. Subject complement, object complement. And of course, they can be, noun phrases can be adverbials. I took my stupid dog for a walk yesterday, I bought it last year, etc. When they are parts of noun, when they are parts of prepositional phrases, they are always complements of the preposition. In a bank is a noun phrase. Over the river is a noun phrase. Inside a complex mechanism of a nuclear reactor. The complex mechanism of a nuclear reactor is a noun phrase, but it's not a sentence element. It's a complement of the preposition inside. And that's it. This will now apply to all other phrases. So once we finish the verb phrase, all other phrases that we will do in the next semester, in the new course, Gate 2, we will have adjective phrases, adverb phrases, prepositional phrases. They all have the same let's say classification. They can be independent, they can be sentence elements, or they can be dependent. They can be parts of other phrases. Now that we've taken care of the structure and the function of the noun phrase, and this again is what we will do for every other phrase, including the verb phrase. We did this also for the verb phrase. Whenever you have to analyze, for example, in the oral exam, a particular phrase, what you do is you say something about its form. So what are the possible forms of a phrase? So pre-modification, post-modification, in this case for verbs, one or more auxiliaries or no auxiliaries. And then you mentioned the functions of that phrase. For verb phrase, it was single function, so it's a verb. But for other phrases, there are many functions, independent and dependent. Now we can start one of those three nominal categories. And the first one that we will do is the number. Of course, we will not finish it. We have 8 minutes remaining, but I can at least introduce it to you. So when we say number, what we don't mean is the mathematical notion of number that Einstein, for example, famously defined as a number in and by itself has no significance and only deserves the designation of number by virtue of its being a member of a group of objects with some shared characteristics. This is a wonderful philosophical sentence, but it doesn't mean a lot. And Einstein also famously said, information is not knowledge. So we will not deal with this notion of number in the mathematical and philosophical sense. If you're interested in that, there's a great documentary on that, The Story of One, the story of numbers, how we got to define our first numbers. This is Terry Jones of Monty Python's Flying Circus, who did the documentary. So what we mean is a grammatical category, or more precisely a nominal category that distinguishes between singular, meaning one, and plural, which means more than one. And there are other definitions that it's, again, a category usually associated with nouns, but in other languages, it's also visible on other parts of speech. In English, it's also visible on pronouns versus one and more than one, singular versus plural. That's what we are talking about. So in English, this nominal category of number, one on the one hand, and more than one on the other hand, is marked by the S inflection. So you simply add S, and out of a singular noun, you get a plural noun. But of course, this being language, there are several possibilities. So not all nouns can have plural, but it turns out that some nouns cannot have singular. So based on how you can express the category of number on a noun, there are several, or actually to be precise, two large groups. There are only two large groups, but there are smaller subgroups of nouns in English. So the first large group is the group of variable nouns. Those are the well-behaved, let's say, normal nouns. Although now it's not politically correct to say that something or somebody is normal. It's just one possibility, right? So there are variable nouns. They are, the nouns that can be both singular and plural. And if you have variable nouns, you also have invariable nouns. Those are the nouns that cannot vary. That's why they're called invariable. They cannot vary between singular and plural number. They're either only singular or only plural. You probably know this from your Serbian lectures in your primary and secondary school. Probably in your secondary school, you heard the term pluralia and singularia tantum. Pluralia tantum, singularia tantum. These are Latin terms dating back more than 2,000 years to the analysis of Latin nouns, but they apply to virtually all languages. This is a common phenomenon. Not all nouns can be singular or plural. Some are only singular, some are only plural. So within these two large classes, as I already mentioned, there are several subclasses. So there are singular invariable nouns, which I mentioned, singularia tantum. These are non-count nouns like materials, like glass. This window is made of glass. You cannot say a glass. That would mean that you created a window out of a drinking glass. Proper nouns like John and Mary are also singular invariable nouns. But of course, you can always bend the rules. And for example, you can say there are many Johns in this classroom. Or in case of your generation, there are several Militsas in this class, in this meeting. When it comes to plural invariable nouns, they are called pluralia tentum. And again, there are several subgroups. Summation plurals. These are nouns that denote that there are like two parts to a whole: scissors, trousers, glasses, what I'm wearing right now. So all these things are called summation plurals, because the whole consists of a sum of two, sometimes even more parts. And then there are pluralia tentum nouns that end in s, like sorry, I have to remember this one. Pluralia tentum ending in s. Okay, could be, yeah. Also, yeah, I'm thinking, my brain suddenly blocked, but thank you, yeah. And also there are pluralia tentum without any plural marking. That's people, the police, cattle, etc. And of course, then within variable nouns, you have subgroups like regular nouns, where you have the regular s plurals. And you also have, there is a possibility, they are very common actually, of using irregular nouns. Irregular in the sense of how they build their plural forms. So they are unpredictable, irregular plural forms, like mouse, mice, louse, lice, child, children, or foreign plurals, you know, criterion, criteria, or let's say libretto, libretti, paparazzo, paparazzi, and compound nouns. Why you say passers-by, but you say close-ups. So why different compounds have different ways of making plural. So we will discuss it, by the way, why it should be passers-by, but it should be close-ups, not closes up. So when it comes to nouns inside of each of these groups, we will have a quick overview next time we meet on Thursday. On Thursday, you can also rewatch this recording, and maybe if you see something again that was not absolutely clear in my presentation of the online platform for the midterm, you can ask me and we can clarify it. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. We have to end. It's noon, but I cannot find my end of the slide command. The good thing is that it seems that we will be able to finish the verbal nominal categories in time, at least when it comes to lectures. So next week we continue the noun phrase, and we will almost finish the noun phrase, and then we only have one class after that in 2 weeks' time. Then we will really wrap up the noun phrase, and I will walk you through the entire final exam. So for the final lecture, I'm already announcing it, but it's 2 weeks ahead of us. Be sure that you also have your workbooks, because at the end of the workbook, there is a sample of the final exam. The new final exam looks a little bit different in formatting, but the questions are identical. I mean, the structure is the same. You just have more empty spaces to write. So thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care, and thank you for joining. You could have been somewhere else, but you decided to be here. Thank you for that, and see you next week, first for practice classes. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye.